New details about the shooter before the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Officials say he researched the arrest of the Michigan school shooter and the prosecution and ultimately conviction of his parents. He also looked at websites on how to build explosives. CNN's Zach Cohen is in Washington with the latest on this. Zach, what else are you learning?
Yeah, John, we're learning more about what law enforcement has found on the cell phone and the online search history of the Trump rally shooter, and what it might say about a potential motive or the shooter's mindset at the time of the attack. Now, as you mentioned, one of the things investigators have found is that the shooter did research Ethan Crumbley, the school shooter who killed 4 of his classmates in Michigan in 2021. But also interesting because the shooter appears to have researched Crumbley's parents, who were also indicted and convicted of involuntary manslaughter connected to their son's school shooting. In addition to the research about Crumbley, we're also learning that the shooter looked up how to make explosives online and also looked up both the location and time of the Democratic National Convention as well as future Trump rallies. That's part of the reason why investigators say they haven't been able to identify a clear political ideology or motive behind this shooting. And we're told by one official that there is an emerging theory amongst investigators that the shooter simply knew that he wanted to carry out a mass casualty attack and that the Trump rally in Pennsylvania provided the most ample opportunity and the most obvious opportunity and the easiest opportunity to carry that out. So we'll have to see. The FBI is building a behavioral profile of the shooter that will help inform their ultimate analysis about what his motive may have been. But the investigation continues, John, and identifying the mindset of the shooter is a key part of that.
That is important new information. Zach Cohen, thanks for digging. We'll let you get back to it. Keep us posted.
Nearly a week after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, we have new reporting this morning. The gunman's online trail is giving officials a sense of his mindset before the attack. Thomas Crooks looked up information on Michigan mass shooter Ethan Crumbley and his parents and checked out websites detailing how to build explosives. Plus, moments before firing his AR-15 style weapon, he took a screenshot on his phone of the Trump rally live stream. Despite law enforcement flagging him as suspicious, then losing track of him for 19 minutes, Trump staffers had no idea of the threat perched on the rooftop yards away from the stage. I'm joined now by former FBI senior profiler and special agent Mary Ellen O'Toole. Mary Ellen, great to see you. It's been a while. Good to catch up with you. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on this case, because many mass shooters leave behind manifestos or writings to explain what they're going to do. Yet Crooks left behind very few clues. What do you think?
He did apparently leave behind fewer clues, but that probably is really part of his personality. He seems like a loner. He seems like someone that is very, very careful about what he leaves in as far as his footprint on social media. So that may be the best that we have once the investigation starts to wind up. Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll uncover more. And what happens with a lot of crimes, not just these mass shootings, but law enforcement and especially FBI profilers, we're really used to making inferences about motivation. So you have violent offenders that commit terrible crimes, but they never tell you exactly why. So from the forensics and the crime scene behavior, you infer why they did it. And there's a lot there right now that allows investigators to make those inferences. And certainly one of them is this is a young man who was extremely mission oriented, and he picked he couldn't have picked a more high profile target, just not even possible. So when you combine those two, that really does suggest that he wanted a lot of attention brought to his behavior, even though he had to risk his life to do that.
And what do you make of the fact that he was doing some online research on Ethan Crumbley, the school shooter out of Michigan? I do know in some of these cases, and feel free to clarify if I'm botching this in any way, that sometimes these mass shooters become interested in other mass shooters. Sometimes serial killers become interested in other serial killers.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I've seen that in both kinds of cases. We saw that since Columbine. So that's been 25 years of looking at these cases where these shooters will look at other shooters and they'll aspire to be like them or aspire to be better than them. And it certainly also exists with serial killers as well. So they can really get a lot of intelligence from other shootings. And looking at the Michigan shooting case that was very recent, The mother and the father were prosecuted because
Right.
of their involvement in it. So what they encountered was their own prosecution. So maybe the shooter was concerned about that, maybe wanted to find out exactly why were the parents prosecuted in that case. But
Would his parents
he
get in
was
trouble for
conducting
what
his
he was
own
going to do,
intelligence.
potentially?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is a kid that does research, and he does research because he wants to commit his crime even better.
Fascinating. All right, Mary Ellen O'Toole, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll, of course, hope to have you back as soon as possible as this case develops. Always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.